Welcome to Super Rant Season 1 Doomsday Preppers. Here we rewatch superhero movies to explore how they build towards bigger stories, starting with Avengers Doomsday and the MCU. Welcome to Super Rant. This is the podcast where we watch movies as we look at other movies, starting with the MCU and Avengers Doomsday, which comes out in December. We are watching movies weekly, so this week we are on The Avengers.
My name is Kevin. I'm a lead writer for Screen Rant, covering all things superheroes, Star Wars, and a whole lot more fun stuff.
And my name is Brian, and I'm so happy to be here. But yeah, like I said, today is Avengers from 2012.
We made it.
That's 14 years ago.
The first major MCU crossover.
I was in 8th grade.
Wild.
Yeah, that's wild.
That is wild.
For the record, if you don't know me, I'm 28 now, basically. So, yeah, crazy how that works out. But yeah, I mean, scale 1 to 10. Avengers movie, rate it, go.
It's like, and it's always going to be in my top 10 Marvel movies. I feel like it's going to be, I'm going to give it like an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that it's carried to that high of a rating kind of just because it is the first of its kind.
It's cinematic history.
Yeah, like as an individual movie, I think there are things that's lacking in. And I don't think anybody is really, trying to hide that. But in terms of, man, it's this conglomeration.
Put it into the context of the year it was released.
Yeah.
And all of just the momentous culmination of what was just phase 1. And then just the superhero media landscape was just fairly it's obviously not as highly saturated as it is right now in Hollywood. And it's just put it in that context, and it is pretty dang good and incredible for what they were able to pull off on the first try.
Watching it again, you just pick up on, man, they were just throwing everything at this movie.
Seriously.
Like, they wanted it to work so bad. And you could tell, but it doesn't suffer because of that.
Oh, no,
no.
No.
They're throwing references at you, and they're giving you little glimpses of possible things that could happen in the future. And I just think it's a very cohesive movie, which is really impressive.
So here's what I've noticed with our podcast so far, because we're still early. We've only done the X-Men trilogy and phase 1.
This is episode 9.
There's nostalgia involved.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But also just solid movies. Really solid Marvel movies.
As we keep getting closer and closer to current movies that are coming out, that nostalgia will lessen and lessen.
Well, no, that's true. And I guess my point is that there's a lot of like high praise we want to give.
Yeah.
But also, I think I want to start off with what are some things you don't like, and then we'll gradually get into some of the things that are just awesome and how it'll connect to like Doomsday.
I guess I'm not a huge fan of the amount of one-liners that are in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty staggering, like, how often they're throwing quips out. And I think this is part of a larger thing that the MCU has had its ups and downs in, is being, like, too funny.
Yeah, too quippy, too many one-liners.
And I think that's where, like, the standard that Iron Man set, I think maybe it's kind of that fault. Because, Tony Stark is extremely quippy in all of his movies. Mm-hmm. And I think wrongly so, that was taken and applied to so many of the other characters.
Sure.
Whereas, like, for Tony Stark, that's very much like a part of his character.
Yeah, and I mean, Robert Downey Jr. can arguably pull off some one-liners way better than other actors could.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that's applied to maybe too many things. Like, there are moments in Doctor Strange that's like some weird one-liners.
Sure. I've always argued that Doctor Strange is a little too quippy for my taste, and he's a little too Tony Stark for my taste.
Right. Which
then again, they're clashing.
Not to bash Doctor Strange at all.
No,
again,
no.
We're looking for faults in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably the biggest thing this movie has going against it. It's
yeah,
just it maybe lays the surface level comedy on too thick.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just like that kind of that classic cheese from Joss Whedon, who directed this first one and the second one, and then the Russos take over after that. But I think the Joss Whedon cheese is easier to forgive with this one, kind of like, like we said, because it's the first big one.
Sure, yeah.
When he got brought on to like wrap up and do a bunch of the reshoots for like Justice League, and
that became super quippy.
All of that Joss Whedon cheese clashed so hard with Zack Snyder's entire style, and you could totally tell. Within this context, where it was like solely Joss Whedon's project, I think you can forgive it more. And like we said, it's the first major MCU crossover. Some of it's very charming and fun.
Oh yeah,
and some of the most memorable lines from the movie are because of that signature cheese.
Yeah, Well, I mean, you get interactions that feel very. I think did you say the word endearing?
Yeah, endearing, charming. Yeah,
you said charming. Yeah, you get interactions that are very, very fun. Like you get, the Tony Stark and Bruce Banner interaction right at the beginning, where they're scientists and they're bonding about things. But then I'm also a big fan of the way you turned an enormous great rage monster.
Yeah.
Like that's great, and but that also instantly connects him to Bruce.
Oh yeah,
because he doesn't care about the fact that he can turn the whole.
Yeah,
he cares more about the science.
Science bros.
Yeah, and they instantly become buddies. It's great.
Yeah.
But let's get into some of the fun stuff here.
Yeah.
Do you think Loki is better as a individual hero threat, so like he was in Thor?
Okay.
Or do you think he works better as a large team opponent?
This is why Loki's awesome, because he's both. In my opinion.
But
and
yes, I'm not to disparage any role that Loki has had over the course of the MCU, but if he had to choose,
let's say it this way, like the average hero, like if it's against Thor, then it's perfect one-on-one.
Well, yeah,
but put Loki against, I don't know, Captain America, like it's not going to be as good. We even get a little bit of that at the very beginning of this movie, but like he rocks. Really cool. He rocks as an ensemble villain.
Well, yeah, and that's what's so cool is that he plays the Avengers against each other and he manipulates them into doing things at once.
It's awesome.
But if you had to choose,
it connects to the Avengers first stories in the comics where their first villain was Loki.
Right. But if you had to choose Loki as a single hero villain or Loki as a team villain.
Team villain.
Okay.
Yeah, team villain. What are some of your favorite moments?
I mean,
and with I'm gonna give the exception is you can't say the circle up at the beginning of the Battle of New York because that's just iconic. I mean
that's the
best scene there is.
So in the Battle of New York, when it's that my favorite absolute part of the movie is when it does the panning shot, the long shot from like hero to hero to hero.
Yeah, it's so good.
And you've got Black Widow and Hawkeye and they're fighting, and it goes to Iron Man and Cap, and Iron Man does the laser off the shield.
On the shield, yeah.
And then Iron Man flies away and he passes by, and it's Hulk and Thor, and Hulk slams the chunk down into the Leviathan.
Yeah.
And then Thor hammers it down.
Yeah.
Like that's
and,
what
and
I
love and I love that Age of Ultron opens with a similar long shot with all the heroes.
Oh, well, I could talk about that scene forever.
It's so good.
And you will hear me talk about that scene. That I have a lot of opinions about that scene, and all of them are good.
Yeah, super good.
But that's the scene for me that when you're going into this movie, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for all of the Avengers working together, fighting an army, doing their thing.
Yeah. We mentioned it a little bit, but at the beginning, Cap initially takes on Loki himself.
Yep.
And then we have Black Widow in the Quinjet. Mm-hmm. And then Iron Man hacks the PA system with Shoot to Thrill.
So good.
The coolest entrance because it's Iron Man. Then he drops down, Loki surrenders, and you get that Mr. Stark, Captain. And that's that in a nutshell is why crossovers like this are so cool. It is the live action Captain America meeting the live action Iron Man for the very first time. That's incredible.
Okay, let me ask you another fun question.
Yeah.
In this movie, not in the course of the MCU, but just in this movie, which Avenger is your favorite?
In this movie, my favorite Avenger is Captain America.
Okay. And mine is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which that's typically the case with us anyway.
I mean, yeah.
But okay, so this is gonna maybe lead to my next question. Why is Cap so cool for you in this movie?
I just like that they could have. You could argue that they could have just gone straight into like a Captain America sequel, and that's where he has to adjust. But because they had their plan where Captain America leads right into Avengers, we get to see him try and deal with the modern world in present day while also teaming up with a bunch of different heroes all at the same time. And I think it's really cool. And you see him initially struggle with, like, you know, Coulson is his like number one fan. And Coulson's like, I had input on the uniform. And he goes, oh, aren't the stars and stripes a little old fashioned? And so he's like unsure of where he fits in this new world that he's woken up to 70 years later. And because Coulson's great too, where he's just like, everything that's happening, people could use a little old fashioned. Yeah. And gradually, as the movie goes on, and the more that Steve starts getting a handle on how things operate, which some stuff is all new, and some stuff is kind of like, well, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And he's discovering that, you know, Fury and the government have secrets, and this whole deal. He becomes more convicted that, oh, I do have a place here.
Yeah.
I can lead. I can be the hero that I would, just as much of a hero as I was during World War II. And it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So similarly, for me, I love Iron Man in this movie because this is a very defining moment for him.
Oh,
right.
100%.
In Iron Man 1 and 2, Cap kind of calls him out and says, you know, I've seen the footage. You're really fighting for yourself.
Yeah.
And he really kind of is in the first two movies.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to be better. He wants to make an impact. He wants to be a hero, but he doesn't really have the thing that he's fighting for. Mm-hmm. And from this movie on, all the way through Age of Ultron into Endgame, this moment, the Battle of New York, is what defines him as a hero. He's constantly trying to figure out how to protect this world. He creates Ultron in the first place to be a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah.
And then Infinity War happens. He's like, this is it. This is what I've been preparing for.
Yeah.
And Endgame, he's ready to make that ultimate sacrifice because that's what his life is building up to.
So this is a perfect segue.
No. This is my segue because I was going to ask this question.
Okay, I think yeah.
So what's so awesome about this movie is that it furthers each individual story. Mm-hmm. And so for Thor, it's the interaction between him and his brother and how he's going to be a protector of planet Earth and what that looks like. And for Hulk, he's finding his place among the team. And he's not just the monster.
He can be a force for good. He can be a force for good, yeah.
And for Black Widow, we see it later on. She has something that she's fighting for now. And Hawkeye, he's got a team of people who accept him as a family. And so it furthers each individual story. Mm-hmm. And we see in Iron Man 3 and Winter Soldier and Thor 2 the impact this movie has had on those heroes.
Yeah.
And that's what a good Avengers movie should do.
Yeah, and it's a solid foundation, and I think to hone in on that just a little bit, and maybe this is going to be more to the credit of the Russo brothers and Endgame. But there's that big argument specifically between Captain America and Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And it's a great setup for their clash, their constant clashing that culminates in Civil War. But B, their critiques of each other perfectly forecast what happens in Endgame. Because Steve tells Iron Man, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. What does Iron Man do in Endgame?
He makes a sacrifice play.
Iron Man critiques and says everything special about you came out of a bottle, and
That's not the
case.
He picks up Thor's hammer.
Because he picks up Thor's hammer and he's worthy. It's incredible. And again, I believe it's more to the credit of the Russo brothers because that's what makes the MCU so great and so unique. Yes, there are other universes and big franchises connectivity now, but no one has done it to the depth and the level and the scale of the MCU.
Right. Well, and that's when we talk about, you know, which movies, if we are putting movies in a category within the MCU, right? We have the Iron Man trilogy, we have the Captain America trilogy, there's the Thor movies. Really, the Avengers movies do build upon each other.
Yeah.
Because you have, and to an extent, Civil War as well. Because it's a Captain America movie, but it's also an ensemble.
It's Avengers 2.5.
But you have, this moment, and the aliens come. And so in Age of Ultron, you have the reaction to that, and we've got to create this thing to help. And then Ultron goes evil and ends up killing people.
Yeah.
And so that affects what happens in Civil War, and that causes a split and a divide between Cap and his guys and Iron Man and his guys. And that sets the tone for Infinity War.
Yeah.
And they're not together, and they're not able to defeat this threat because they're split, because they're divided. And then obviously Infinity War goes into Endgame. And so as we approach Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, really this movie and Avengers Doomsday are part of the same narrative storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russo brothers weren't in control of this one, but they were in control of every other one after.
Ultron.
After Ultron. And so when we think about, okay, well, this Avengers movie leads to this Avengers movie, and then the next one, how is this narrative that they're saying and that they're telling and that they're showing us, how is that going to lead into Doomsday?
I think there's specifically one scene. I think it's going to be easy for people to critique, like, oh, with all of the changes that have happened in the multiverse saga, and there's been a lot of, like, not as interconnected buildup as there could have been to Doomsday, because they've had a lot of changes along the way since Endgame. There's one scene I realized this while we were watching, there's one scene in the first Avengers movie that will always keep that interconnectivity no matter what. Because at the end, Fury says, they've all gone their separate ways. What makes him think they'll come back? Because we'll need them to.
Yeah.
And he says it's less of the Avengers initiative and it's the Avengers promise. He says it's a promise. Every world knows it. Earth has mightiest heroes and defenders, and they'll come back when they are needed. So would it be nice if there was more organic build up to Doomsday? Absolutely. Are things always perfect with the MCU? No, because there's just been all kinds of ups and downs and behind the scenes stuff, and we don't need to get all in that right now. But at the very least, they will be assembling because there's a big major threat on the way.
And they will be called back.
It's going to be great.
They are going to respond.
Yeah, I mean, they've already set it up a little bit, like with Brave New World with Sam Wilson. He's recognizing the need to have an ongoing Avengers team again.
Yeah. Well, the world is, and that's why the Thunderbolts and the new Avengers.
Yeah. It's going to,
So, and I'm just hoping that Doomsday feels like it's a part of the same narrative. That it doesn't feel too disconnected to the level of it's its own thing. No, I want it to be a continuation of Infinity War and Endgame.
Absolutely.
And Doomsday. And people have brought up the question, how could they possibly top Endgame? Well, if it's a part of the same story and it's a part of the same narrative, they don't really have to top Doomsday.
No, it's just another chapter.
It's just another chapter. It's just another part of the story.
Yeah.
And you don't have to constantly be one-upping yourself if you're still telling a worthwhile story.
100%. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Real quick, because I just thought this would be fun. Battle of New York. I love this movie because it is like a classic comic book alien invasion in the city.
Yes.
It's like as classic as it could get.
Yeah.
Okay?
It feels very cartoony.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like ripped right off the page. But here's again, and we were talking about this interconnectivity with the MCU. Here's what I love is I just started taking notes of okay, here's what the Battle of New York was in 2012. What is the Battle of New York now with all of these different pieces of connection that have been added and stuff that happened behind the scenes, stuff we didn't even know that was going on, or the effects of the Battle of New York. So I just kind of made this awesome list of okay, so Hawkeye has that great moment where he runs out of arrows, so he does the grappling hook and he swings, and now we know because of the Hawkeye series, Kate Bishop saw him do that when she was a kid.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
she's like in the next building, like across the street, and she saw it happen.
Yeah.
So she's there in the midst of that. All of the wreckage from the alien Chitauri.
With Vulture.
That is the backbone for more than a few Spider-Man villains, because Vulture and his crew and their salvage crew, and they're using a black market with Chitauri alien tech, and it's Vulture wouldn't have his wings without the Battle of New York.
Yep.
Right? And the Department of Damage Control and all that. That's awesome. You go into the Netflix shows with Daredevil. Kingpin.
Right.
He built the back of his whole criminal empire, and all this money laundering was mainly through, I think it was called Union Allied, which was his company and all these construction companies. And they had all these contracts trying to rebuild New York after the incident, the Battle of New York. So there's all these just great connection points. You think about Endgame, and we'll switch a little bit, as you think about specifically Loki.
Yeah.
2012 Loki. But it's just, he gets captured, he surrenders, and then because of Endgame, he gets a hold of the time stone, the space stone again.
Well, technically, that would be a different timeline.
Yeah, because the branch that gets created.
Yes.
But it's the 2012 Loki that we're following.
Right, it's that one in the show.
Yeah. So in the span of a day for this Loki,
he gets beat by the Avengers. He gets captured by the TVA. He is put through his whole thing. He finds out the years of his life that happen afterwards.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All within what, like roughly a 24-hour period, which is just wild to think about. So it's just amazing to think about all of the ways that the MCU has like added all this new color, and the scale of the Battle of New York, both what was happening during it and the aftermath. It's just so fun to think about, and that's why a rewatch is always going to be fun.
Yeah, you're always going to pick up on things like, oh yeah, I remember how the reference is in this way. It's cool. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. One thing, which, you can't really fault Marvel Studios for this, but like Thanos in the post-credit scene.
Yeah, it looks a little goofy.
It is not, and they talk about courting death. Well, okay, MCU Thanos didn't really have any connection with the living embodiment of death like he does in the comics. Remarkably, we got living embodiment of death with Aubrey Plaza and Agatha all along. No connection to Thanos, and I think the Thanos we end up getting from the Russos is incredible. So like
much more convincing and much more intriguing as a villain, rather than just somebody who wants death.
Rather than just being this nihilist,
somebody who actually cares,
this conquering nihilist. We have someone who has an agenda and a mission that is a little more. Yeah. You can kind of understand it more.
Yeah,
rather than it being so comic book.
His reasons for doing it is that he cares for the universe.
Yeah, right. He in his eyes he's the hero.
Yeah,
and he's trying to balance the universe to save it, not just because he wants to impress death. Yeah,
Well,
anyways,
Avengers is obviously a great movie. It's fantastic. It's awesome. If you haven't watched it with us, go watch it again. I'll probably watch it at least 20 more times in my lifetime just because it's that great.
At least once a year.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're going to move on. Kevin, you got one or two pieces of good news for us?
Yeah. I mean, we got to talk about the biggest one, which is at the time of us recording this, the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer came out a day ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing about it like crazy. It's awesome. It is like everything I've wanted from a Spider-Man trailer since I was like 10 years old. Yeah. This movie is going to be so much fun. There's a lot of cool connections there. They're gonna, his powers are mutating, evolving,
and a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's Man Spider." Well,
it could be.
But if you look at some of the inspiration from the comics, it's the other is a different kind of person. Is a different
for those who don't know. So, in the midst of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, that was the first real use of Spider-Man having the organic webs, right? So in the midst of that, they do this storyline called The Other, where Spider-Man essentially dies, but rather than like dying, he wraps himself in a cocoon, kind of like what we see in the trailer.
Yeah.
And when he emerges, his whole body is restored. His powers have all been amplified. He has organic webbing. Okay, he doesn't need the web shooters anymore. And it was kind of Marvel's way of like syncing up what we see on the page with the movies.
Right, which they do all the time.
Yeah. Now,
Guardians of the Galaxy, a great example.
And the whole idea was like, okay, it's like more instinctual, it's more primal. Is it the man trying to be a spider, or is it the spider trying to be a man? And it's one or the other, right? Which is where the name comes from. Funny enough, it didn't last long, because a few years later they did the One More Day, Brand New Day storyline, which was like the infamous reboot that reset a lot of stuff with Spider-Man, including like his marriage to MJ.
His secret identity.
Right. But it also it also reset those powers and gave him the web shooters back. Okay? Ironically, we now have a Spider-Man movie called Brand New Day, that is doing the exact opposite, and it's giving him that cocoon and giving him organic webbing. I also think it's funny that the MCU Spider-Man is aware of this, because he's already met Tobey Maguire in No Way Home.
Yeah, it's just
it's
very obscure.
So it'll be a surprise that he's getting them, but it shouldn't be a surprise that it's possible, because he's already seen from another Spider-Man, which I think is super funny.
So, something that I want to ask about this.
Yeah.
Is what is the reality that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey?
I think it's very possible.
I'm not so sure. I think that, to me, it feels very unlikely that they would introduce that important of an X-Men character in a Sony movie. I think that's fairly strange.
I mean...
And there are other characters that could fit that bill, too. They're like the Queen, which is a character that is a Spider-Man villain who has similar telekinetic powers, but not quite. And, you know, that's also a strange character that Marvel might not go for. But I would be very surprised for them to introduce that high of a character in the months right before they're about to have the X-Men in Doomsday. And we have a potential of Jean Grey showing up in Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean...
that feels really strange to me and not very cohesive.
But
when it comes to Sony, what really is cohesive?
True. And I mean, you also have to remember that it's like Marvel Studios is really the ones in charge of the story. I mean, if you think about it, No Way Home is one of our biggest and best multiverse saga movies that really does the multiverse well. And it sets up Multiverse of Madness. So it's possible. Everything I've seen is pointing towards Jean Grey. I think I'd be really excited to see that, because we know that after Doomsday and Secret Wars, Marvel Studios is going to lean hard into mutants and the mutant saga, and they've already kind of started seeding mutant stuff a little bit already, like in the MCU itself, not another reality, like we're seeing in Doomsday.
But then they'd be setting Jean up to be the main villain of this film.
Not necessarily. I think a villain. I think a villain in the sense that she is being hunted.
So then who's the big bad of this film?
I think Tombstone.
But
there's a lot. See, the trailer showed us a lot, but also kept a lot, which I think is perfect.
This trailer sets up whoever this telepathic person is. They set in this trailer up that person as the main villain. How do we, fight a threat that we can't see? It would feel very strange to me if Jean ended up being that person.
But what better way to show the public oppression towards mutants and prejudice than by painting her as a villain, and then there's a twist and she's being used. Like, there was a shot where she's like, it looks like it's her, and she's in the chair and she's strapped and she's in a cell, and I'm just saying it might not be, but if it is, I can kind of see the vision with a really cool twist, and then there's a bigger villain, but she only looks like the villain in the first act.
I would be disappointed if they did it with Jean. It would need to be done extremely well.
Oh, it's a risk. It's a risk for sure.
And see, that's the thing. Is it feels very strange to me that they would take a risk with such a big character right when they're about to make the X-Men a big focus.
Sure. And I mean, like, there's a lot that's going on with this movie because we've got new powers. Yeah, we've got Fallout from No Way Home, Punisher, Hulk.
To add another element like the X-Men and Jean, that just seems like too much.
Yeah. Crazy. What did you think about the 24-hour release strategy?
Didn't like it. Like, it was cool that they I liked that they had different like fans and different like people from around big fans participate in it.
Yeah.
But it felt like we were just getting like leaks.
I don't like that it was 24 hours, and I don't like that they were really like legitimately 2 seconds, no matter where it started and where it ended. So it was like these like little like.
Well, and then you're getting people overanalyzing these 2 seconds, and you don't want people overanalyzing a trailer before it even comes out.
Yeah. But again, I liked the fan aspect of it.
Right, and that was very cool, and I enjoyed that.
Funny enough, Charlie Cox that same evening was on, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel straight up said, like, hey, we've been watching the Spider-Man trailer nonstop. Are you in Spider-Man Brand New Day? Yeah. And basically Charlie Cox was like, I'm not in it. But even though I was in it, I would say I wasn't in it. Yeah. Are you in it? No, I'm not. But, like, it would be so awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool if he.
I mean, Spider-Man's fighting the Hand. Those are Daredevil's people. Those are who he fights.
Yep.
Oh, it'd be so great. The Oscars were on Sunday. Yeah. There was a fun moment. RDJ and Chris Evans, they presented together. The Avengers theme played. There was a funny bit with Channing Tatum, who's also going to be in Doomsday.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. On the DC side, not a lot. Like, the Lanterns trailer was last week. One of the creators responded to some of the backlash he gave about Green being dumb, which the Green will be in the show. People just need to be patient. But James Gunn also confirmed Supergirl, which comes out in June. It will take place between Superman and Man of Tomorrow.
Cool. Great.
So it's not going to be like set before Superman. Some people thought maybe it might have been, or I could see maybe some scenes being set before Superman.
Oh, they'll definitely do flashbacks. To
beyond like flashbacks like on Earth, but we'll see what happens. I am actually pretty excited for Supergirl. I think it'll be a fun time. Other than that, Daredevil comes out next week. That's going to be really exciting. I'm really pumped to talk about that a little bit on our next week's podcast because the first episode will be out. But that's all. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, very cool. So that's it for today. Next week we're watching Iron Man 3, so make sure to get your Mandarin fix before then and be prepared. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Super Rant Season 1 Doomsday Preppers. Look out for our following episode next Friday. And remember to watch the upcoming movie before listening. You can find a link to our watch schedule on our YouTube page.